Can you give me your name, age, and branch of service you were in?
My name is Pat McGinn. I am 64 years old, and I was in the best service of them all, the Navy.
So you are from where originally?
Originally from Sheboygan, and I lived there until I graduated high school, and enlisted a couple of days after I graduated.
And why did you enlist?
To get out of northern Michigan. Felt kind of trapped up here in northern Michigan, and I wanted to see the world, and the Navy seemed the way to go.
And where did you end up then going?
Started off at went to boot camp at Great Lakes in Illinois, and immediately after that I went to Millington, Tennessee, and got training in my rating, which was in aviation electronics. And then off to my first command, which was Fighter Squadron 101 in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And I was a mechanic. Well, electronics technician. And I worked on F-14s type aircraft. They were brand new back when I first enlisted. They were transitioning from the F-4s to the F-14, and I was in a transition squadron. And what we did was we trained replacement pilots to fly the F-14 and replacement maintenance crews to work on the aircraft, and that was my job, was to help train these squadrons to transition from the F-4 to the F-14.
But you didn't fly?
No.
Did you fly? No.
No. My job was aviation electronics.
And from there?
So I stayed there for the first 4 years at that command, and then I re-enlisted to go to aircrew school. And however, I had some issues in aircrew school and got classified as not physically qualified, although I completed 99% of the requirements. There was one little issue that I had, so I didn't make it through the school, and subsequently they sent me back to the fleet, and I went to another F-14 squadron, which was Fighter Squadron 32, deployed on board the USS Independence, and that's where I spent the next 5 years.
And where were you at in the world at that point?
Well, went back to Oceana, Virginia Beach, Virginia, and that's where that squadron was deployed out of. So there was two main fighter bases. One was in Oceana, Virginia, and the other one was Miramar, California. So I did all of my time in Virginia Beach, well, first 10 years. And I didn't actually serve in any war. We were Cold War veterans at the time. However, that's where our air wing participated in Grenada, and that situation that was going on there. And we were also on station in Lebanon when the Marine Corps barracks was bombed, and we were providing relief and support and services over there.
So you'd been there for a while before that explosion happened?
Yeah, we were on station for a few months before the explosion.
We have a bulletin from the Pentagon on the explosion in Beirut at the U.S. Marines barracks.
And when there was a terrorist bomb that drove into the Marine Corps barracks and killed 236 Marines.
The Marines said a speeding pickup truck crashed through barriers and exploded in the lobby of the headquarters building where Marines were sleeping. The blast opened a crater 30 feet deep and 40 feet across, causing the four-story structure to collapse.
We were on, our station was, 300 miles off the coast.
Right.
Flying air support. And those guys were in their bed sleeping when they got bombed. So they didn't know it was coming.
Killed when a truck loaded with explosives broke through a gate into the lobby of a building in Beirut occupied by Marines, still asleep, most of them, at 6:20 a.m. their time this morning.
And then Grenada after that?
Grenada was that was before. Grenada was as we were in shopping to do what we did in Lebanon. Everything worked out the way it was supposed to. But I started going to school. And, at that point I've got 17 years in the Navy, and done a lot of different things. And I had a preceptor who, talking to me, he said, what do you want to do with you're getting close to retiring, what do you want to do? I said, well, I figured I'd continue doing this. And he goes, well, what kind of education do you have? And all of a sudden panic struck, because all I had at the time was my high school education. So fortunately on board the Kennedy we had a college campus on board an aircraft carrier, University of Central Texas. And I started going to school on board ship. And so in all my off-duty hours, I was taking classes. And I left the military after 22 years with a master's degree. And so that was in human resources. It wasn't quite in the field that I wanted, but it was convenient, it was close to home, and plus I'm still working a full-time job, working on a master's program. When I retired, I was 39 years old at 22 years in. Went in when I was 17, retired at 39. Now I'm a psychologist. Went back to school to study psychology. And now I'm a licensed psychologist. Been working in psychology since 2001. You know, it's funny, when 9/11 happened, I was back in the recruiter's office. And I said, ready to go. And the recruiter looked at me and he goes, you know, you retired, Chief, you did your time. You know, if we really need you, we'll give you a call. All right, so that was fine. But, you know, it was, you know, one of those moments, you know, when you look back at it and said, I was ready to go. I was still young enough. I could still do the work. And I wanted to go back, even at that time.
What do the words honor and service mean to you?
Honor and service. Well, the Navy's core values: honor, courage, and commitment. And you know, those are three words that, you know, apply to my life today. And honor is for me, is doing the right thing even when somebody's not looking. Courage is being able to, you know, doing things that, you know, that even though I'm afraid to do them, to continue to move forward regardless of the fear. And commitment is you know, once you take an oath, you're always there for it. You always stand by it. You know, I took an oath in 1977, and that oath still, you know, is still there today. You know, the Constitution of the United States to support and defend. So, you know, take that commitment very strongly, you know, even to today. So that drove me to the Legion.
So why is the GAR Veterans Park important to be completed?
You know, I think that, you know, history is really important. And, you know, I was a Civil War buff when I was a kid. You know, and that was, you know, a little bit before my time too, believe it or not. But you know, I think that we forget the lessons of history. You know, it's more than honoring the veterans of the Grand Army, but it's also, you know, I think that it's important to tell, you know, to remember that struggle, that time period. Where, I mean, that was a pretty tumultuous time when this country was in that kind of upheaval, and we need to remember those lessons because, you know, even today, it feels like this country is splitting in two. And we, you know, if we can remember, you know, the trials of the past, then I think that we're less likely to make the same kinds of mistakes, and hopefully we stick together as a union. And that's what those fellows fought for. I think that, you know, when I think about Gar Park and the importance of it, it's not so much for me, but it's for this generation, for the next generation, for the generation after that. And if we can memorialize not just the GAR, but all of our veterans, because it's not just those veterans that have served and that we need to remember, it's all of our veterans. You know, it was GAR that, it was the GAR effort that brought Memorial Day as it is. And now we remember all the wars, not just one war. You know, it's a reminder. You know, when we look over there and we see the sign and we see the star and we see the flags, it's a, you know, reminder of the history of the people from this community that have gone out there and done their duty. And hopefully we can encourage the next generation to get out and do their duty as well.